Askana ba-dow, ba-da-now, askadalty-dow, abra-dow.
Wow, that's some good scatting, man. I've never heard scattily brow before.
Listen. Yeah. Listen, Henry.
Hey.
The name's Ehrenberg. Daniel Ehrenberg.
The name's Papali. Henry Papali.
And
that's
here
Daniel Craig as an American doing Henry Papali as James Bond.
Oh, that's Daniel Craig from Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
Bring
Daniel
it back.
Craig, right, from Lara Croft doing Henry Papali as James Bond. Yeah.
What the show is as labyrinthine as the plot of From Russia with Love already. And,
yeah.
Hey, and welcome to the franchise After Dark, a rare late night recording sesh. And we're both tired, and we could be bouncing off the walls on this one. Let's see what happens.
We'll see what happens. It's episode 94, everybody. Welcome to our 007 coverage.
007, that's the call letters of James Bond. He's a secret agent from out of England.
Yes.
I believe London, England, by way of Scotland. And
well, Sean Connery's by way of Scotland, yes.
Yeah. And, you know, he's a sex-addicted sociopath with a license to kill. A license he uses all too often.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. License for sex, too, obviously.
Well, I said sex addict. My Lord, is he using that dick in these two movies. So, listen.
It gets far more prolific the later we go.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember. Well, that brings me to this, Henry.
What's that?
Where do you fall on the James Bond fan spectrum? What led you to this series? What was the first Bond movie you saw? What's your take?
Oh my God!
What's the macro of your interest in this fella?
Oh boy, I didn't know that question was going to come so early.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Way back, I'd say into childhood. Probably along with superheroes, James Bond was like my favorite character ever, man. I always just thought...
What about the character did you enjoy as a child?
Probably just the killing and the cool weapons, the cars and shit. Now, it's interesting, my interest in James Bond, see, I spent some of my childhood, as you know, in Canada, and this is an interesting factoid. Sean Connery is, as you know, Scottish.
Yep, he is a Highlander. There can only be one.
And, you know, I might take some crap for this, but it's the truth. When I was growing up in the 80s, my James Bond that I knew was Roger Moore. And that wasn't just because he was still making them. It was because all the Bonds that were ever showed on Canadian television were the Roger Moore ones. They really didn't show the Sean Connery ones. And I didn't really even become aware of Sean Connery till I was like probably a young teenager. And I think, this is just my opinion, but I think the reason for that is because Canada does still, and to this day, have a very strong loyalty to the Crown. And Sean Connery is known for his outspoken views on Scottish liberation from England. And Roger Moore is just a straight-up Englishman. And I think that was one of the reasons. I don't know. I haven't been there in 20 years or more. But I think that was one of the reasons that we were inundated with Roger Moore and not Sean Connery. And really, it wasn't until I moved back to my homeland, the United States, where I really discovered, oh, okay, holy shit, this is the original James Bond. This is the guy. And that's not to say I don't love Roger Moore too, but so that's an interesting thing. I always thought that I didn't come to it like from the beginning. I came to it from where it was around me, and so I think there's a little bit of Canadian bias there for old Roger Moore there.
I'm interested to hear how that manifests itself. Of course, in this first round of Bond, we're going to be treating this in portions. So we're just covering Connery and Lazenby.
And so then to finish up real quick, so once I got into
what was
Connery,
your first Bond though? Do you not remember?
Oh man, it's vague. I mean, it's probably something like the
Moonraker.
Or The Spy Who Loved Me, or some loopy shit like that. And then I remember distinctly in my teenage years getting like really hardcore into the Sean Connery Bonds, and then just going through them all, just like from the GoldenEye on. I saw every single one in the theater. I might have even seen License to Kill in the theater, but I would have only been about 10 or 11. But I feel like I saw that. But he was always beloved to me. I just always thought he was just the fucking man. I mean, I was like, for me, it was like Batman, James Bond were like my heroes, and my love for the movies just never diminished, even despite some of the very poor quality of some of them. But I was very excited to go.
What's interesting for me, Henry,
is
I think I like the movies more than I like the character.
Sure.
Because to me, James Bond is not inherently interesting. He's a men's magazine on legs. I just he.
Well, you bring up an excellent point there. I will say really quick, because I want to hear this, but I just was going to say, I think you're right, because you just reminded me, probably as a kid too, I probably dug like those cool opening titles and all the one-liners and just like the formula. Like that probably also caught my attention. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah. So go ahead.
To me, I never had like an insane interest in James Bond because he encompassed so many of the things that I find boring that like you're told to be into as a man. So like every fucking Bond movie, they would like flag up like, oh, what car is he driving this time?
Right.
And like,
definitely.
I don't drive. I don't know anything about cars. I can't tell you the difference between like an SUV, a Jeep, a minivan. Right. Like I don't know. I don't care.
Well, but I mean, you don't like or fire guns either, and neither do I. But
But that's another thing. Like I don't have interest in like I never cared about like the gadgets. Like to me, I was always bored whenever Q showed up.
Oh, see, I think I was.
I'm not interested in watches or like like
right.
It's just like you read like men's magazines or like Sports Illustrated, and the shit they're advertising, which is like leather shit and cars and watches, I just don't care about.
I couldn't agree with you.
Cigars.
More. Yeah, well, I like that one. I couldn't agree with you more. That's why I think that it was almost embryonic that I like them. I should also say that I just also remembered, I think part of it also is my mom loved James Bond. And so that was probably a big part of it. I'm sure she had them on, and my mother was always a big fan. I know she saw all the Bonds in the theater going back to the 60s. So that definitely, now when I think about it, I'm sure that it was just kind of like part of my household, like, climate.
As you know, my family never introduced me to movies. I don't know why. I had to discover everything on my own.
Right. You didn't have the help that I did.
Right. Yes, so my first James Bond movie, I remember
I wish I could remember that,
is Tomorrow Never Dies.
Ah, yes.
The second Pierce Brosnan movie.
Yeah.
I was 11 years old when it came out in theaters, and a bunch of people in my 6th grade class were going to see it, and I got invited, and I went to go see it. I think we might have seen 2 movies at the same time, Tomorrow Never Dies and For Richer or Poorer. Remember that movie?
Is that Kirstie Alley?
Kirstie Alley and Tim Allen pretending to be Amish.
Nice.
So we saw Tomorrow Never Dies, and I thought it was fucking baller.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it. And so the only other Bond movie I'd ever heard of was Goldfinger.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So I think like the song had captured me or something.
Sure. Well, there's a lot going on in these movies, and we'll get to it when we get to Dr. No. But yeah, that's interesting. I saw Tomorrow Never Dies with my then girlfriend. I think I was 18 or 19. She did not have any interest.
Is it the one with Michelle Yeoh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I remember digging it a lot at the time, and I was already a harsh Bond critic, even though I wasn't a Pierce Brosnan Bond fan.
Yeah, I mean, Brosnan's kind of my Bond, if I'm being honest.
The one that you grew up with.
Yeah,
the one that, yeah, for sure. And in that way, for me as a kid, it would be Roger Moore. But then once I became it's not like I'm artificial intelligence. Once I became self-aware.
Yes, I gained sentience and fell in love with Sean Connery.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I did. And that hasn't really changed.
No, me too. So, my second one was I went back and watched Goldfinger. And that's the one that really got me into Bond. And then I went and watched all the Bond movies.
Okay.
So I think I've seen every Bond movie. I I went down the line and I remembered them all, at least something from all of them.
Well, I was looking for something. Our viewers will find this funny. I think we came up with we mentioned this once before on an episode.
Our lists?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, before we did this show, Dan and I, just for the hell of it, right?
Yeah. It was on Thanksgiving.
That's right. We came up. We ranked every Bond movie, and I really want to find that list.
There's no way I still have that list.
I know, right? I don't know if I kept. I don't know.
I must have tried.
I would just like to compare it,
but I probably lost.
Yeah.
It. But look, we'll rank them as we go.
That's right.
So another thing about me is I've read most of the Ian Fleming novels.
I read one or two of them. Yeah, they're not particularly good, as I recall. But
they're pretty interesting. When I got into Bond, I found them in my basement. There's a lot of random old novels in the basement of my parents' house, Henry.
I remember that. I've seen them.
And
That's right.
It's because
cool.
we had a tenant that lived in the basement.
Right.
And she was this heavy-set weirdo. And she lost her mind, and
is it E.L. James in your basement?
It was E.L. James, and so we found this lady gallivanting nude through the neighborhood, and we had to kick her out of the.
Get the fuck out of here!
I swear,
I never heard that part of the story.
She got arrested naked in a fist fight with her boyfriend, and on drugs or something,
That's
meth.
Great.
And so we kicked her out. My parents kicked her out. And after that, we had a tenant who was a sensitive motorcycle guy. but
so the heavy-set fat lady was the crazy
heavy-set fat lady. Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, she was the drug-addled psychopath, but you had a biker who was
with a heart of gold.
Secretly Ezra Pound. Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. He was one of these bikers. He'd had long hair and tats and drove a motorcycle, but then you'd see him with his helmet sitting next to him, and he'd be rifling through a J.D. Salinger novel. But
looking through 9 stories.
Yeah.
That's great. So Ian Fleming's books. So
I read those books because I think the heavy-set fat lady left them behind.
I read Casino Royale. I remember liking that.
I read that too because I read them in order. I started from the beginning.
Oh, you read more than me then.
Yeah.
Actually, my mother had that book. She has a compendium of Ian Fleming's books. Yeah.
Yeah.
I read Casino Royale. Actually, I remember when Casino Royale came out, I wanted to check it out, and so I read it then. So much later, I was 28.
Yeah.
But I did read some of the early ones when I was a teenager. They didn't do much for me. But Ian Fleming's a fascinating guy. We don't have time to get into him, but look him up,
No,
fans.
I know he's buds with a lot of weirdos, and yeah,
Well, just a fascinating life. Like, holy shit, World War II, secrets, all that kind of stuff. Very interesting.
yeah. So Terrence Young, the director of these first two movies, also was like a World War II vet. Had some interesting shit happen to him.
Yes.
Because that's the age we're at now. Dr. No now takes its place at the earliest movie we've covered on the podcast.
1962.
1962. So let's go through it. It's directed by Terrence Young and written by.
We also have a top 10 for that year.
We do. We'll get there.
Oh, okay. Look at you. Didn't know if you remembered.
Okay.
No. Top 7 for me.
Written by Richard Maybaum, Joanna Harwood, a lady, surprising to see.
I know.
Yeah.
I was very surprised at that. Yeah.
Probably the last lady ever to write a James Bond movie.
No, she isn't, but yeah, you'd think. Yeah.
Okay, and Berkeley Mather, which sounds like the name of a James Bond character. So there was a battle over the rights to the Ian Fleming books between Harry Saltzman and Albert Cubby Broccoli.
Right.
And they ended up forming a partnership and produced these movies together until Saltzman left in the 70s and it became a Broccoli joint.
Right.
So they tried to make Thunderball first, but shit went wrong. The script, they were not happy with the screenwriter, and I think it was going to be too expensive. So they picked a book with fewer set pieces. Mm-hmm. They chose Dr. No. They rejected the first script because they made Dr. No a monkey. Did you read that?
Yeah. I read a lot of stuff for the first time on this movie that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Yeah.
And it ends up coming out. They went after Cary Grant first to play James Bond, but he was only going to commit to one movie, and they already had the franchise in their eyes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it ends up coming out October 5th, 1962, on a budget of $1.1 million. Crazy. And the box office, it makes 59.5. So it's a gigantic hit. Much bigger, it should be noted, worldwide than it was domestically at first.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
It wasn't even in the top 10 highest grossers in America that year.
All right.
From Russia with Love was kind of the breakout hit here.
Sure.
Okay. I have here the list of the top 10 highest grossing movies domestically in 1962.
Wow, all right.
Do you want to take any guesses?
Well, okay, I'll take 2 guesses because I'm real bad, everybody. It's going to get bad for me until we get to, 1971.
Okay.
Dr. No?
No, I just said it's not in the top 10.
I said I was tired. Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, that's number 1 with a desert.
Ooh. Okay. Cape Fear?
That is not here, no. Okay, number 10 is Bon Voyage. All right?
Sure.
Number 9 is Gypsy.
Oof. All
Number 8 is Hatari. Now, Bon Voyage and Hatari both have exclamation marks in their titles. Maybe in 1962 you wanted to be excited in your title.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Number 7 is To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes, okay. Boy,
Number
what a time.
It was actually a great year. 62. I for my 1963 list, Henry, I wrote down 8 movies that were definites, and then I had to come up with 2 more. Whereas for 1962, I wrote down 14 and had to narrow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I only have 7 for 62 and 5 for 63.
Oh, all right.
I did my best.
We'll get there. Okay, so number 6 is Mutiny on the Bounty, a fine film.
Always wanted to see that.
That is on my 14 that didn't make it to my 10.
Oh. Okay.
I have number 5 is The Music Man. A lot of musicals on the list. Number 4 is a film called That Touch of Mink.
Yeah, I've heard of everything you're talking about. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Number 3 is In Search of the Castaways.
I don't think I know that.
That's Gilligan's Island, but from the search squad's perspective. Number 2 is The Longest Day, a movie I saw. I saw that as a kid because Saving Private Ryan got compared to it a lot.
Yeah.
And then it's one of the most boring fucking pieces of shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think that's Burt Lancaster, right?
Yeah, John
Wayne.
Wayne.
Bunch of people, right. Yeah, I think I've seen some of that and felt the same way and just said, fuck this.
Yeah. More like the longest 2 hours of my life. I don't know. I think it's...
Good one.
Yeah, whatever. Number 1, Lawrence of Arabia. There we have it. And Henry.
Yeah.
What is our top 10 movies of 1962?
Well, I guess you're going to have to hit the first 3 since I only have 7.
All right.
So why don't you do 10, 9, 8?
All right. Number 10 for me is the original Cape Fear.
Okay.
Number 9 is Too Late Blues.
Never heard of it.
That's Cassavetes' first film. He's not fully formed yet as an auteur, but it's an interesting movie with Bobby Darin giving a rare non-musical performance.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Number 8 is... Hey, do you think there's a scene in that shitty Kevin Spacey movie where he's pretending to be in Too Late Blues? Kevin, you know?
Probably.
Yeah. Scooby-Doo Bop. Look at me. I'm
Scooby-Doo
Kevin
Bop.
Spacey. All right.
Yeah.
Number 8, I have The Manchurian Candidate.
A movie that I could not remember if I have seen or not, which is very Manchurian Candidate-like of
It's
me.
true. It's true. The Manchurian film goer.
Yeah.
All right. You said you have a 7.
Yeah. Now.
No respect for film history from Henry Papali tonight.
That's true.
I'll have to represent.
I'm not so into movies.
Mhm.
It's not my thing. All right. Number 7 is Lolita.
Lolita.
Mhm.
So low.
My favorite filmmaker of all time. Probably my not. Well, no. It's not my least favorite of his films, but it's not one of my favorite films.
I think it's not one of my favorite films either, but I think it's kind of over the years been underrated.
Yeah, I would definitely benefit from a rewatch. It's been a very long time since I've seen it.
Sure. I know like Kubrick wasn't happy with it or whatever, but fuck that guy. He was like a perfectionist.
Oh, that's right. He was also a genius, so I'll
Yeah,
take his
yeah.
word.
But he was such a genius he couldn't see his own genius. How about that?
I'll be thinking about that all night.
Thank you. All right, number 7, I have Sanjuro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good choice. Number 6, I have Dr. No.
Okay, I have The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner.
Another one I always wanted to see.
Yeah.
It was a good year. I did notice the total absence of things that yeah. Okay, my number 5 is The Miracle Worker.
Not on my list. Number 5.
Did you ever see it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
No bigs. Don't care.
I don't care.
Okay.
Number 5, it's like the I Am Sam of its day.
It is not. That is a great joke, but it is not. Yeah, go ahead.
Number 5 is Jules and Jim.
Of course it is. Fucking all right. My number 4 is Sanjuro.
My number 4 is a movie I just rewatched like 2 weeks ago. Winter Light.
Never heard of it.
That's a Bergman. It's
Wasn't
about a
Jules?
priest.
Who's Jules and Jim by?
Is it a Truffaut?
There you go. Yeah, because I was thinking that was Berg. I knew it was one of your favorite pretentious.
Shut up.
My number 3 is a great movie.
It's not pretentious just because you haven't seen it.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but I have seen. What am I thinking of? Wait, sorry. That's Breathless. That's not him. That's
Godard.
Ugh. Yeah, we'll get to him.
A masterpiece.
Oh.
Okay.
Walked out on it, actually. Saw it in a
That's
special screening and left.
Fucking ridiculous. That
Yeah.
movie's perfect.
Yeah, perfectly boring.
Ugh.
Number 3, The Days of Wine and Roses.
Okay. My number 3 is Knife in the Water.
Always wanted to see that.
It's a great one.
I've got a lot of movies to see, so I'm happy, actually. The number 2 movie of 1962 on my ridiculously short list is Cape Fear.
Okay, my number 2 is Lolita.
And the number 1 movie of 1962 and one of my favorite movies of all time is Lawrence of Arabia.
To Kill a Mockingbird's not on your list?
I've never seen it.
Oh, okay. That's my number 1. I gotta tell you, Lawrence of Arabia, I'm not a fan of.
Really?
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie, but doesn't do a lot for me.
I've seen it multiple times. I love it. Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird, actually, it's on my Netflix queue.
You should watch that shit.
Unrelated to this show.
I feel like you fancy yourself a bit of an Atticus Finch.
Sure. I compare myself to him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's a good list. Did you ever see The Days of Wine and Roses?
I think I never saw the whole thing. That's why I actually had it on my long list and I crossed it out because I didn't feel right putting it on the list.
Sure. Okay.
Others that didn't quite make it are Exterminating Angels or Exterminating Angel,
right. Angel,
and Birdman of Alcatraz or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, and a little movie called Dr. No. So let's talk about it.
Okay.
Dr. No, it ended up on a BFI list.
Oh, did it now?
Yeah, the British Film Institute. Let's hear that theme song.
I had a feeling that it would be.
The British Film Institute.
Here it is, your British Film Institute update. Dr. No is listed as the number 41 best British film of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
They love their James Bond over there.
They fucking do.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
What's
It's
that?
also on the American Film Institute's list.
Oh my goodness gracious. I'm getting bombarded over here. All right.
AFI.
Oh, yeah. AFI update, baby. Here we have James Bond listed here as the number 3 best film hero of all time.
Oh, well, that's fair.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think, I was going to wait, but it might as well be a good time to introduce a new segment.
I'm so excited.
For this will go throughout our James Bond coverage. We haven't mapped out when we're going to go to the next set, yet, but this will continue. It's always been very amusing to me of the progression of how many women that James Bond has sex with in each movie.
Ready.
So hang on. So
in the first one, he gets down in that trench. Digs
right.
down deep into that trench.
The Sylvia Trench.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is a segment we'll be doing for each Bond movie. It's called the Shag Count, and here is the theme song. I was able to contact Sean Connery, do a little voiceover work. He only charged me £15,000. All right.
Ooh.
Okay. All right.
James Bond, Shag Count.
Do you need to hear? I just played it again.
I think you should play it again.
James Bond, Shag Count.
Oh my God!
And the
It
James
pierces my very soul.
Yeah, well, I asked him to do something creative. I thought that was pretty good.
Sure, he did come back for the From Russia with Love PlayStation 2 game. He might as well come back for this.
Yeah, he came back for the show.
Yeah.
The Shag Count in Dr. No is 3.
3? That's
3.
it?
That's it.
That's how many women. Surely not how many shags.
No, that's how... Oh, well, I mean, I wasn't going into detail about how many times with each woman. I can only guess.
No.
So
I think
the
that's
number
right.
of women that he has sex with is 3.
Yes, but
Yes.
he's fucking this whole movie.
Yes. And we will have a shag count for From Russia with Love as well.
Okay.
That's the James
From
Bond
Russia
shag.
with lots of love. Hey, Henry,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any thoughts on Terrence Young as a director? I mean, like, have you seen other non-James Bond movies?
That's a good question, Dan. Off the top of my head, while I pull up his filmography, let's see. I don't think I have. No.
He did Wait Until Dark, right?
Oh, did he? I never. Oh, wait. I saw that a long time ago. Is that him? Yes.
Is it?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah,
you're right.
that's a great movie. But other than that, I have not seen any.
No, me neither.
But he's a British stalwart. And,
Yeah, for sure.
And a great man, by all accounts. All right. I mean, we don't know that. I did read a story about him
He's
having
cool.
a lady's legs replaced in From Russia with Love.
Not literally replaced. He didn't have them amputated.
Like, there's a shot of legs,
right.
and he was like, the actress doesn't have nice enough legs. Let's use a leg double.
Okay. All right.
I don't love that.
No, they still do shit like that today, man. So
I know. Yeah, Michael Bay. All right. Listen, we're getting started. It's Dr. No. Now, what's the first thing we see in a Bond film? Why, it's the classic Bond opening.
loved it.
He's, silhouetted in that circle, the gun barrel.
Yeah.
But
And right
then-
away we hear that guitar theme. Really great.
It's great. Bang, bada, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, it's my ringtone actually.
That's
Yeah.
so fucking nerdy.
Yeah.
That is the nerdiest thing about you, Henry.
Oh, thank you. I'll
I
take that as a
find
compliment.
I find James Bond nerds extra nerdy because
Right,
all the James Bond nerds I've known in my life have like obsessed over like, ooh, what kind of suit is he wearing?
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I take it as a compliment to be
Yeah.
called a James Bonder, but I'm not. That's not me.
They all
I
have
just,
like cufflinks that have like
Yeah,
Walther
right.
PPKs on them.
No. For me, it's an amusing, fun, awesome franchise. That's all. And it was a ringtone that was available to me. I've had it on my phone for 5 years. The other reason it's still my ringtone is because, full disclosure, I cannot figure out how to change it.
Love it. I don't use a ringtone, Henry. I'm
No?
I'm an all vibrate all the time, man. It's a fun fact about
We
me.
are not covering 50 Shades again, man. Remember?
Yeah. Hey, so halfway through this this classic Bond opening, there's a crazy bongo dance break,
Yeah.
and then that turns into a calypso version of Three Blind Mice. It's very confusing.
It's it's very confusing, and I got to admit, I could have done without that. But they're getting their feet wet. They haven't figured this title stuff out.
They
yet.
have not figured out anything yet.
No, I mean, well, they figured out a few things. I mean,
No.
his introduction of himself is phenomenal. I mean, it's perfect.
I just think this Dr.
that is-
No
Yep.
very much feels like the pilot episode of James Bond.
It's a hell of a pilot.
No, it is. It's not all there yet. And I got to admit to being a little bit down on this movie for like the first half.
That is fascinating to me. You know why?
Because you were down on the second half?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once they get to Dr. No's island and then they meet Dr. No, I'm still in. I still love all that.
Mhm.
But then, like, once they put him in the cell and he's like spending time in a drain pipe and they're in the nuclear reactor facility, I'm kind of, it's a little bit.
Henry, I think once they get to the island, okay, let's say
Yeah.
Ursula Andress
Undress.
until the end of the movie.
Okay.
I got it. Whatever.
All right.
Ursula Andress till the end of the movie. Perfect.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Okay. I see what
Once
you're-
she shows up,
Really, you didn't like anything before that?
It's not that I didn't like anything.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
but that's where the movie really picked up for me, and I was like, oh, this is what I want.
Interesting. See, I liked all the stuff when he. I mean, we're just skipping through the plot because it's kind of silly, but
No, we have to go through it a little bit, man.
all right. So, you want me to just nail it real quick?
Well, it starts with 3 old blind guys. They're the 3 blind mice. But then it turns out they're not blind. They're killers. And then they drive away, and you could see the camera in the window reflection of the car. That's my first note.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because I only spotted 1 or 2, like flubs in this movie. Overall, I gotta say, what impressed me, I haven't seen it all the way through in many, many years. And as with everything, it's always fun to watch it with this new critical look. And boy, I thought this movie was damn good looking. Like, it is a really beautiful looking movie.
I think it looks better than From Russia with Love.
I agree with you, and I think
I think it's because it's shot on location in Jamaica. I know a lot of From Russia with Love is shot on location too, but there's way more like, what do they call it? Like reverse projection.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Green screen and stuff.
I agree with you. I think one of the reasons is I dug a little deeper here because I noticed the production designer was Ken Adam, and he is one of Kubrick's production designers. He did Dr. Strangelove and Barry Lyndon, for which he won an Oscar.
Full title, please.
Full title, Dr. Strangelove?
Yeah.
Or How I Always Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love the Bomb. I don't remember that. Learn to Stop Worrying and Love the... who fucking cares? It's Dr. Strangelove.
It's Dr. Strangelove, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Ken Adam, you got him doing production design. He did not return for From Russia with Love, but then he did come. I think he did come back later. So yeah, I think that's a big deal there. He even painted.
Yeah, he had a real low budget for the production, and apparently got real creative. And
incredible. The shit he pulled was just. Did you read all that shit?
I read a lot about it, and it is awesome. Everything on the island and like Dr. No's compound is fucking awesome looking.
It really is.
It looks really cool. You know, and we just recently rewatched the Austin Powers movies for the podcast with our old friend Christian Toto.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, a lot of that last bit, like in Dr. Evil's lair, is modeled after Dr. No. And they made it look shoddy looking, presumably because they're trying to like ape the style of like a 1962 spy thriller. But
they're wrong.
This doesn't look shoddy looking. It looks fucking great.
It looks amazing. I agree. That really. I'm glad that that stood out for you, because that stood out for me, and it wasn't something I was going into the movie paying attention to at all. I didn't think anything about when I was going to watch this that I'd be even noticing something like that. But it really is really beautiful looking. And that goes to the credit also to the cinematographer, Ted Moore. And Terrence Young, man, tight director, man. He's really good. I mean, I think he's really good. What I was going to say about one of the flubs, which was hilarious, I actually paused it and then rewound it and watched it in slow motion, is when Connery's falling down the water pipe.
What happened?
And it's so obviously not Sean Connery. And on the Blu-ray, if you pause it, it's just some dude whose face is right there.
That's
so
horrible.
obvious. Yeah, it's so not him.
That happens a lot now if you watch Buffy in like high def. When they're like when they're fighting, it's just like so not Sarah Michelle Gellar in the slightest. It's just some lady.
They do a pretty good job of it in the Bond. Not great, but they do a pretty good job of Connery looking like he's doing.
Well, he does do some stunts. And From Russia with Love, there's a pretty great fist fight.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
And I read that was all him.
Oh, really? I didn't read that.
Yeah.
I want. Yeah.
You know what I realized? Every time we mention Terrence Young, I picture Terrence Stamp in my head.
Son of Jor-El, bring me this Luthor.
God, speaking of that, Henry, I watched that show Krypton this week.
How's that treating you? I read some rave reviews of that.
Okay, new Sci-Fi Channel series, and it's like DC. Get it together, because I'm also like, I'm halfway through Jessica Jones season 2 right now, and I'm enjoying it.
I love it.
But I haven't been enjoying it as much as the first season.
Oh,
and,
I did.
And so I was like, I was questioning a little bit, and then I watched Krypton, and I was like, oh, right, that's great. Because it's like, they're giving us this show. It takes place 200 years before Superman was born.
200 years.
200 years. Like, why would I want to watch that?
Right.
It's like telling me you're giving me a new Spider-Man show, and it's about like the fucking Renaissance.
Right. That's like when we covered Jason X in space, and it takes place like 3 million years in the future. But that's
at least in the future. It seems so crazy to me that you're giving me a spin-off of a character and telling me, now this is what it was like before this character even existed. Hey, it's before his father existed. Check it out.
They're having some problems over
and
at
it
DC.
takes place on this Gleep Glop planet, and fucking it's ridiculous. Oh my! Remember how interminable the first 20 minutes of Man of Steel were? Imagine that, but it's an entire series.
Yeah, I like that part. But yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, I won't be checking that out.
Oh, anyway, back to Bond.
All right. It opens with a game of Baccarat, which I will say, I learned. Okay, this is a little nerdy. I learned to play Baccarat because of James Bond.
Of course you did.
Well, I like cards anyway. I like poker, and for those of you out there who are interested in
poking her too,
I'm very into games that bring me gambling and shagging.
All the one-liners in these movies are either him talking about pussy or him just disparaging someone right after he murders them.
Which is great. But I actually wrote down my favorite one-liner in the movie.
Okay.
Gets me every time. It's neither of what you said. It's when they're having that awesome scene with Dr. No finally meets James Bond. They're having dinner or whatever they're having. It doesn't seem like they're eating. And Ursula Andress gets pulled away. Right. And James Bond stands up to like rescue her, and he grabs a bottle and he's ready to like smash it and use it as a weapon.
Oh, yeah. And Dr. No says, like, what are you doing? That's a 1955 Chablis or something.
Right. Well, if you'd like the exact quote.
Go ahead. I
took the time to write it down, so. That's a Dom Perignon 55, Mr. Bond. It'd be a pity to break it. And then as Bond sits down, he goes, I prefer the 53 myself.
And another thing I never noticed about James Bond before, he's not a cultured man. He drinks his martinis like a fucking child.
Oh, come on. He is. He knows a good whatever, go ahead.
But he's also an alcoholic. He's drinking
Absolutely.
Throughout this movie.
Absolutely. I mean, you never noticed that before?
I don't think I did. Not until I was an alcoholic. So there's like there's one scene where he's about to pour himself some scotch, but then he realizes it might be poisoned. So he opens up a new bottle, and I'm like, dude, that might be poisoned. What are you doing? These are spies.
And he has it in the drawer of the desk.
Yeah. And he does get poisoned in both of these movies. He just lets himself get poisoned.
Right. He won't drink that, but then later in the movie, when he's in Dr. No's compound,
I'll have some coffee.
Yeah. Why are you eating now? Ursula says in the dubbed voice that is throughout the movie. And he says, because I'm hungry. And then he drinks a cup of coffee, or she drinks coffee, he drinks, and they pass out. Yeah.
I think it's a problem that we're casting women that don't even speak English. Like, they're literally just cast for their looks.
But I gotta say,
and
the dubbing job is very good.
The dubbing job is good in Dr. No.
Damn.
The dubbing job is not good in From Russia
Really?
with
You
Love.
didn't think so?
I did not think so. I was distracted the entire
Get-
movie.
Oh, all
And
right.
Dr. No, you can forgive it because I gotta tell you, I was all ready to talk about that. Like they should have cast. I heard Julie Christie was in the running for this role.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Ursula Andress. There's something pretty undeniable about her.
Yeah. She's easy on the eyes.
Yeah, she's a good-looking lady.
She's semi-attractive.
Yeah, she's all right.
Okay.
I read that some creep out there paid $61,500 for her bikini.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Ow.
He was found dead sniffing. So anyway, he at the beginning of the movie he goes to the MI, what is it, 6?
MI6.
Yeah, offices, and he meets up with the secretary Moneypenny, who he's
There's
just
Money Penny.
he's just casually kissing and touching the entire time.
Oh, she loves him.
She does, but it's weird. But I guess it's 1962.
Yeah, I mean, I
So-
was going to say before we even started, we could do this two ways, I'm sure, as you
No,
thought
no,
yourself.
I'm gonna do it both ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just like James Bond.
No, but it's
go ahead.
it's 1962, so like I mean he probably
It's
would
Mad
be
Men.
doing that. It is Mad Men.
No, I
but-
thought of Mad Men many
Moneypenny
times.
is very much the Peggy Olson of the
Definitely.
James Bond universe.
I thought of Mad Men repeatedly watching this, and I had never done that before. I just kept thinking, like, oh, well, I guess, yeah. that's true.
I through 2 movies I've become a Moneypenny James Bond shipper.
What does that mean?
I want them to end up together.
Aw.
I do.
I like that. Well, that's kind of what
Have
you're
they
supposed-
ever boned?
I don't believe so.
Those 2 kids can't get it together. Why can't Bond throw Moneypenny a bone?
Well, wait a minute. In the Daniel Craig ones, they come very close in Skyfall, if you
I don't
recall.
remember.
believe. Yeah. Well, we'll get there in a few years. But anyway, no, they never do. It's a nice flirtation. Moneypenny's American, which I always thought was cool. Is always a nice. It's like a nice
I didn't
British
even
American
notice that.
alliance. You didn't?
No.
Yeah, she's at Lois Maxwell. She's like I always thought that was a cool touch.
Lois
Like, it's-
Maxwell's really charming.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
And then he meets the awesome M.
M is great.
Love him.
He's
Bernard Lee.
he's sort of treated. I mean, I'm
He's
glad
also,
they
by the way,
gave
in
him.
one of my favorite movies of all
Why?
time, The Third Man.
Oh yeah, great.
Sorry,
They-
I interrupted.
They
Sorry.
gave him a personality in these movies, which I feel like they sometimes forgot to do in later James Bond movies. He's very funny because like M always like runs the risk of just being an exposition machine.
Yeah.
And I thought he had enough like good lines in this movie. Like when he makes
Oh, yeah.
Bond leave that gun behind.
Oh, it's
Shut-
great. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
Q shows up too, but he's going by his name in these. I forgot.
Well, he's not. It's not Desmond Llewellyn. It's not the classic Q.
But I
He
think
doesn't
it's
go-
supposed to be Q in the first one.
right. But they call him like Boydsworth or something.
But
like
that's
that.
what he's called in the second one too.
But right. But then it's Q from then on. From
Yeah,
there
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Desmond Llewellyn. Now he shows up in From Russia with Love, and he ends up playing him for like ever, right?
Yeah. Until the world is not enough.
Yeah, they
No.
replaced
He
him
had-
with John Cleese.
No, that was in Die Another Day. Yeah. He was in The World Is Not Enough.
Right,
He had-
right. But then in the next movie, they
Big-
replaced him with John Cleese.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was funny.
Oh,
What a zany character.
oh, Lord, have mercy.
Yeah. I can't wait to get to this Pierce Brosnan.
But to your M point, yeah, they're always going to keep doing that, though. You're going to find, I think, because you said you hadn't watched these in a long, long time. Bernard Lee always gets good lines. They throw him a lot of good lines, and so he's just a great character, and love that guy.
Yeah, so they're gonna send Bond to Jamaica to go check into some weird happenings going on with the space program over there.
Yes, one of the plots of any of the James Bond movie that I find absolutely hilarious, because once I had never really honestly ever paid attention to it because sort of who cares? But it's really funny that all Doctor No wants to do is stop a rocket from launching.
And you know what's interesting? It's kind of the same plot as the first issue of The Amazing Spider-Man.
Really?
The comic, yeah. When you go back and read those Stan Lee Spider-Man comics, so much of them hold up so well. And like the early issues, you get all those characters you love, Doc Ock and Green Goblin, all the really great villains. But in the first one, it's just this Russian spy who's like trying to stop or trying to launch a rocket. Yeah,
of course. But you know what's interesting too is that I noted that this movie came out on October 5th, 1962. 11 days later, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis.
How about that?
Isn't that something? Yeah. So that was back when Russia was our enemy and not our friend like we are today because we're
What are you talking about? They're in some ways they're our best friends.
That's what I mean. I forgot.
Henry,
they're awesome.
Well, they said they didn't use Russia as a villain specifically because they wanted to take like an optimistic look at the Cold War.
Yeah.
Russia is the villain in the book From Russia with Love, but in the movie they make him Spectre.
Right.
And also, it ties in with politics a lot. Did you know that From Russia with Love is the last movie that John F. Kennedy ever watched?
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
It was one of his favorite movies.
No, it was one of his favorite books. It was the last movie he ever watched.
I knew it was... Okay, wait. I knew it was one of his favorite books. How do you know it was the last movie he ever watched? How would
Because
anyone
he screened it in the White House like the day before he left for Texas.
Dallas?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? I'm sure somewhere in my many readings of the Kennedys I knew that, but I didn't remember that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, how about that? A little political fact for you, Henry.
Interesting. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. So before he goes to Jamaica, first bone, Sylvia Trench.
Sylvia Trench.
Yeah.
Baccarat game. Classic shot. James Bond profile, sort of, right? So more kind of just see his hand holding a cigarette.
Yeah.
And then like the music kicks in. And man, I mean, look, not to gush over this, but I mean, I can't up to that time, and they didn't know it at the time, obviously, but can you go back further and find a cooler introduction to a character?
Probably. Anyway, so he meets Sylvia Trench.
Name it. Who? Citizen Kane?
I'd have to think about. What about the Land of Oz?
Get the fuck out of here. Dude, the music cues, it shows Sean Connery lighting a cigarette. The music cues right under it. It's perfect, man. It's just like if you could go back and hadn't done that, you could be like, oh, I wish we would have introduced a character like this. But they did.
All right.
They nailed it.
Hey, look at this nerd's excited. So he meets Trench at the Baccarat game, and she's sort of like not that into him at first, but then he's like, by the way, I'm gonna bone you later. And sure enough, he gets back to his motel, and she's like, let's get down.
No problem.
Yeah. He's like, I've got to go to the airport immediately. And she says, what if I touch your dick? And he goes, almost immediately.
Yeah. It was part of the...
James Bond, shag count.
Yeah. That was seamless.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Yeah.
So what happens next, Henry? What happens next? He gets to Jamaica.
Yeah, he goes to Jamaica and he's investigating Crab Key Island, and there was a British his colleague who was assassinated by the three blind men, and he goes to yeah, I know, he goes to meet Quarrel.
Quarrel does not interest me at first, but once he's revealed to be an ally, I really love this character.
I wanted more.
I wanted more too. I mean, they kill him too early. He should be a part of that like last act.
Totally agree. because they bring in Felix Leiter. That's the first time we ever see, played by Jack Lord, which I didn't
That's
remember
right.
at
Hawaii
all.
Five-O's Jack Lord.
No recollection of that when I watched this. Yeah,
I kind of wanted him to have a bigger role too.
Right. Well, Felix comes back throughout, and that was now played by the great Jeffrey Wright.
Oh, I don't think I ever realized that that's like an old character.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, that's Felix. That's his American counterpart in the CIA. So that's his. Yeah, they got a great.
Got it.
cast.
I'm
But,
excited to be watching these movies in order. I've never done that before.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, Coral is cool, but yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
So they need to get on the island. It's apparently run by someone named Dr. No, a Chinese man, they say, who bought the island, and everyone's afraid to go by it because anyone who goes near it fishing never comes back. And
because there's a dragon.
right.
I
but-
hate shit like this in movies, Henry.
Right.
Whenever characters in movies are like, "Oh, Godzilla lives there," and then
Right.
and then the main character's like, "What are you talking about? Godzilla doesn't live there." And then they get there, and it's just like a tree that kind of resembles Godzilla, and it's on
Right.
fire.
Right.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what they're talking about. So this is like the whole movie. Like, there's dragons on that island,
And
when
it's
you
a
get there,
little-
and it's just like a tank painted
And
up to look like.
and
a
I will
dragon.
say it's a little racist because Coral is like, okay, so because he's Jamaican and I guess has never, even though he's clearly an astute, informer and spy and all that, he believes in dragons, like
Yeah.
this. I mean, come on, okay.
It's true.
Give me a fucking break. And Ursula Andress, what is she? She's because she's like blonde and she thinks it's a dragon.
Ursula Andress is such a fucking weird character, dude. Her name is Honey Rider, which is hilarious.
And she did come up, yeah, great. I didn't remember that either, man. That they started right away with those names.
Mhm.
Great. She also has probably the best revenge story of a man who raped her that I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's
That-
a weird story. I mean,
Wow.
she says that she was raped and then killed him with a tarantula.
No. She killed him with a black widow spider.
Right.
And took a week for him to die.
And I thought that was a weird story because early in the movie, Bond is someone attempts to murder Bond by putting a spider in his
A
bed.
tarantula, yes. Yeah.
And so was that supposed to be like a red herring? Was I supposed to think like, oh, is Ursula Andress bad? Is she like
I don't
behind-
think so.
I don't
No,
think
I
so
don't-
either, but
Yeah.
it's weird that
That's interesting.
there's two separate unrelated instances of spider murder in this movie.
Of arachnophobia, if you
Mm.
will. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought of that until now. That's right. That great special effects sequence with the tarantula clearly not anywhere near Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Can't say as I blame him.
I'll say that also Ursula Andress's character, they find her on this island. She's looking for shells.
Underneath a mango tree.
Oh, right. Yeah, Connery sings.
God, I really guess I don't like that kind of music. What is it, Calypso?
Calypso, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
No.
Yeah.
So, and then she says, like, that's kind of just what I do, man. I'm a shell seller.
It's a black market seashell
He
seller.
says, like, where are you from? And her answer is, I've lived just about anywhere there were shells.
Right.
What
So
kind of answer is that?
I don't know, but it's creative. Yeah. Anywhere there were shells. So any coast in the world. Now,
Yeah.
from everywhere. Oh, I want to point out something to you. I bet you didn't notice. It's the first time I ever noticed this. Quarrel's buddy. Did you catch his name in the movie?
No.
Yeah. His name is Puss Feller. Puss Feller.
Why?
I don't know. Puss Feller.
Is that from the book?
I don't know. It's Puss Feller.
I don't understand any of the character names in these movies. Quarrel?
Yeah.
And is that Dr. No's real name? His last name's No? I think it is. I thought it was like a supervillain alias.
Well, it was very funny because I didn't.
It'd be like if you. I mean, like it's as silly as Doctor Doom, and his last name is Doom.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I did think of Austin Powers at one point because I didn't remember that when he tells the story in Scott's classroom about where he's from, that Dr. No actually says like where he's from. I did not remember he tells Bond that. Like when he's like, my father was a Chinese immigrant.
Well, I didn't remember any of that when we watched Austin Powers, and it was fun kind of to watch these two movies and be like, oh, they did that in Austin Powers.
Right. Yeah. So when he was like, my mother was a German, so he's like half German, half Chinese, and I don't know, I guess that's why they get away with casting a white man. I'm not sure, but there's
another character he bones earlier in the movie who's like working for the bad guys, and that's supposed to be an Asian lady, and she's not.
That's right. That's Miss Taro.
There's
character.
Of course, it's Miss Taro. Get out of here.
Tarot card reader.
And she says, she has the line like she has to like keep him there long enough for people to come kill him.
Right.
And so they fuck, obviously. And then he's like, let's go out to dinner. And she goes, let's stay in. I'll make you a Chinese dinner. The fuck are you talking about?
I'm really in the mood for Italian.
Yeah.
That whole exchange was bizarre.
I like to cook.
Yeah. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. It was real weird.
Oh, forget it.
I love when Bond knows for a fact someone's a bad guy and he fucks them anyway.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Oh, boy.
So
jokes to me. Okay.
So we're on this island. We're with Ursula Andress. Bond is wearing jeans, which I don't appreciate. Wet jeans.
I thought they were more like light pale blue, baby blue sun pants. I didn't get the impression they were jeans. What?
It looked denim to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
So they're floating along. And he kills a dude. They see the dragon. Quarrel gets burned alive, and then no one mentions him again. Like who?
That was fucking brutal, man.
Yeah, rough death for Quarrel.
Christ, and they show it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like when they do it, you think it's like you hear the scream, but no, you see the body burning. Yeah, it's rough. And then there's an extended sequence of them being deactivated of radioactive material.
Oh, well, that's another thing. That's the sequence in Austin Powers where he's pissing for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, the body part's not showing. Right.
So they, this is what I love about this movie. Because, like, up to this point, like, yeah, he's doing spy shit. He's investigating. There's a car chase, which I don't. I'm never that into car chases unless
I thought it was a good one,
unless you're Popeye Doyle or something.
Right.
And so I once we get to this island and it's like, okay, here's a hottie with a body, and then we're then we're gonna he's got to break into this base. And so he's just like floating along, getting chased by henchmen in like a river.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was like fucking Tomb Raider out there. And then he gets captured, and they bring him into this crazy facility where there's like a nuclear test reactor, and Dr. No wants to feed him a fancy dinner, and like all this shit is so great. This is, to me, like, I'm sitting down to watch a spy movie. This is some spying, baby.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dr. No's a cool villain, man.
He really is. I agree.
I'm into him. I
don't think he gets enough credit.
I don't either. He's a great Bond villain.
Is he the franchise's, and I mean our franchise, the show, is he our next Scorpio?
I think
Remember
he's
how
the
we were?
Scorpio of the Bondverse.
Yeah, I mean, we were upset that Scorpio is never talked. I mean, this guy is really overshadowed, I think, by like Blofeld and later Bond and Goldfinger, obviously. But boy, is he awesome!
He's
and Joseph
great.
Wiseman, who plays him, is great. I mean, it's just he's fucking great.
He's a great breakout character. I don't understand. People today are all, hey, remember Odd Job? Remember Jaws?
Right.
Like,
The
whatever.
henchman. The
Fucking
henchman.
Dr.
Right.
No is the man.
Yeah, those fake fucking hands and
That crazy outfit he's wearing at the end.
love it.
Oh, yeah, he has fake hands. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
man.
And then
he crushes that thing with his hand, the metal idol with his hands.
And
yeah.
then Bond knocks him into a test thing, like a nuclear reactor.
Oh,
and
he dies.
Can't
Your favorite
climb
death.
out because, he does. He kind of dies in acid.
I
pool
thought of
death.
you. I thought of you, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Dan's gonna love this shit.
You're
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and you're right. And he can't climb out because of his hand.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very creative. Man.
Really good. Good writing. Well performed by whoever that guy is. What's his name?
Wiseman.
Wiseman. All right. A Jew, probably. So listen. That's Dr. No. Then they're able to escape, and they're in a speedboat. Bond loves boning in boats, I've noticed.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. And that's the end of the movie. He
they're
fucks her in a boat.
Yeah, they're rescued by Felix Leiter in the ocean, but then Bond.
But Bond's like, get out of here. I want to fuck in this boat right now.
I'm about to have sex with Ursula Andress. Can you please just give it a minute?
And they're just fine with it.
Who can blame him?
That's
Felix
the end.
Felix Leiter gets it, so he lets him go. And that's pretty much Dr. No. I mean, there's a lot more we could say, but that's all right. That's what do you?
I did skip my favorite of the death puns.
Oh, please.
When he runs that hearse off the road and he goes, I think they were on their way to a funeral.
Great.
That's good stuff.
Great stuff all around.
So, what do you give this movie?
I'm giving this movie 5 stars.
5 stars, going all the way. I'm going 4.
I figured.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I did not want my prior affection for the movie to affect it, but it didn't. I just think it's fucking great.
I think, if anything, I liked it more this time.
Yeah. It's got some issues, but it's just it's very solid. I also wanted to point out something interesting that I never noticed, because this is something a Bond nerd me thinks about. How long has James Bond been a spy? How long?
Probably
how
a while in this one, huh?
All right. Well, right. So what would be? They say it, but did you catch it? Is
No.
my question. 10 years.
Okay.
Which was interesting to me.
He's a vet.
Yeah, he's a vet. I wouldn't have really thought that, going back, but he's definitely
good. If they made this fucking movie today, he'd be played by like Chris Pine, and it would be like fucking Bond's like origin. You need to see his first case.
You're right.
I don't need to see first cases.
No, you're right. They just dive right the fuck in.
Yeah.
It's great.
I wanted to say also that in the overarching storyline of the franchise, I'd forgotten that Dr. No is a member of Spectre, and that he describes the Spectre organization in this movie. So they're already planning ahead to future sequels.
Yes, very smart, and
it's
great.
really well done. Yeah,
I
agree.
It's
genuinely intriguing. Like, who's this fucking guy? Who's Spectre? Tell me more, baby.
Well, and it's great too, because before you see Dr. No, you get that great scene of his, I don't want to say henchman. I don't know, whatever you want. The Professor Dent, and he goes to that like atrium where the tarantula is, and you hear Dr. No first, where he's like, "This organization does not tolerate failure."
Yeah, it was like something out of The Prisoner.
Yeah, it was fucking great.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, very cool. All right.
Who's your MVP?
I got to go in this one with Sean Connery.
You gotta. I mean, listen.
There's a lot of contenders.
Part of me wants to go Andress. I really do think she livens up the second half of this movie, because I do think this movie takes a while to get going, and she's the break point for me.
Okay.
And part of me could go the villain, because I do think a Bond movie benefits from a great villain, and too many of them lack great villains.
I think that along with comic book villains, James Bond villains are like the go-to idea of someone when they say it needs a great villain. I think they kind of mean that these days. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but you got to go Connery. He's just dynamite.
Yeah,
He's
fucking cool.
He's so watchable and so cool and likable, which this character didn't have to be.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. The fine line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wrong actor ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
ain't gonna work. Yeah.
So there you have it.
Well, LVP.
Oh, LVP Henry. Oh, The Three Blind Men.
You know what? That's really good. I'm changing mine to them.
What did you have?
Well, I had Quarrel because I just didn't like the treatment. I wish it would have been a little deeper and he shouldn't have been killed off. Not the actor, but I just thought the character should have been more developed. It was a little more, but you're right. That's hands down. That's pretty
I had problems with all the sort of henchmen that were like razzling Bond before he got to the island, just like in Jamaica. Like none of them were interesting. The one who eats the cyanide tablet.
Yeah,
I didn't care for that.
Oh, okay.
I also didn't like that. Like this guy Bond has him in like a headlock, and the guy's like reaching for a cigarette. And he pulls out a cyanide tablet, and Bond is just letting him reach for a cigarette?
Yeah.
Come on, do your job.
Use that license.
Yeah, so that's that, man.
Superhero count is only one, and it'll cover From Russia with Love as well.
Connery, League of
That's
Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Took me forever, because there's 1,000 fucking cast members, but it's Connery. There's
nobody was in, like, Batman?
Nobody.
Okay.
I was very surprised.
Yeah, me too.
Connery
Jack
and
Lord?
Nothing. Nope. I know.
All right.
Believe me. All right.
Let's move on to From Russia with Love.
With Love.
Yeah. This film, Terrence Young is back to direct. Richard Maybaum is back to write. He's a guy that kind of got his start with these movies and just never let go. Like, all his good credits are Bond movies.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It was released October 11th, 1963, a year and 6 days later.
Wow.
How did they do that back then, man?
That's
mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really is.
To the point where there's like a big billboard in the background of this movie for like a movie that had only come out like a few months earlier.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. Okay.
It's the one where he like goes through her mouth and he goes, she should have kept her mouth shut.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the movie?
That's some movie.
It's
not like a famous movie. Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was just like a fake fucking thing. All right. Oh, all right.
A much higher budget here of $3 million comes in with a higher box office of $80 million.
It's a hit.
Yep. It was number 7 at the American box office, so starting to be more of a breakout. Do you have any 1963 guesses?
It's The Birds.
No, actually, no.
I'm out.
Number 10, Bye Bye Birdie.
God, they love musicals.
Yeah, they did. Number 9 is Move Over, Darling. I don't know what that is.
Never heard of it.
Number 8 is Charade.
Ugh.
Number 7, of course, From Russia with Love. Number 6 is... You don't like Charade?
I just made that sound.
Oh, that's a good movie. Number 6 is Irma La Douche.
Okay.
Number 5...
That's Fellini, right?
Is it? I never saw that.
No, I have no idea.
Number 5... I don't think so. I think it's an American movie.
Okay.
Number 5 is a franchise we could cover someday, Henry. Son of Flubber.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Number 4 is Disney's The Sword and the Stone. Number 3 is Tom Jones, of course, a biopic of the It's Not Unusual performer. And number 2, it's a Mad World. And number 1, the Elizabeth Taylor Cleopatra, which is another movie I've seen and is interminable.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
So we have here 1963. I believe not as strong a year as 1962, but I do have my top 10 list.
God.
What
a guru you are.
Thank you, Henry.
Just a guru.
I only really love 8 of these.
Okay.
There's 2 that are tacked on at the end.
Well, I only have 5 because I either didn't see enough or it was so bad I didn't want to put it on. But I think even if it was bad, I would have put it on just to make the numbers.
So 10 to 6 here. I have number 10, a movie I was enamored with as a child, The Sword and the Stone.
Okay.
Number 9 is This Sporting Life.
I want to say that I did see that because it's Lindsay Anderson and I love his movies.
Yeah. It's only good.
Yeah, it's Alec Guinness, right?
It is, yeah. Number 8.
Can I hear a quick Ben Kenobi impression?
Oh, This Sporting Life. That's I'm quite better at my sporting life than I am my love life.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good.
Number 8, The Great Escape. Number 7, I have here From Russia with Love. Number 6, The Leopard.
Oh, that's Antonioni, right?
That's Visconti.
That's Visconti. Boy, I really nail it with those foreign ones in the 60s.
Yeah. What's your number 5, Henry?
My number 5 is a movie that is aptly titled For My Feeling For It. Another one that I saw in my arty years and wanted to walk out on, but I couldn't because I was with people. Jean-Luc Godard's Contempt.
A great film.
A fucking horrible, pretentious piece of shit. The only good part of that movie is the soundtrack by Georges Delerue.
My number 5 is Charade.
Oh, all right. My number 4 is another pretentious classic that everybody loves. However, I would give this another viewing. 8.5.
Okay, my number 4 is Jean-Luc Godard's Contempt.
Really? You love that movie, huh?
Yeah, of course.
Jack Palance and the French. It doesn't really fit. All right. My number 3, encapsulated by what you said about it. I remembered it not until I looked at the lists of 63, The Sword and the Stone.
Oh,
I remember liking that very much. Yeah.
My number 3 is The Silence.
Of course.
Well, that's another Bergman. This is during his period. He did a trilogy of films about characters questioning their faith in God, and so my 1962 is Winter Light, and The Silence is the last one.
When is The Seventh Seal?
That's, I want to say, earlier.
Yeah, I hated that too. I saw that in the theater as well.
That's a great movie. Okay, so the Silence at number 3. What's your number 2?
From Russia with Love.
Mine is 8.5.
Jesus. And the number 1 film in 1963, I'm not enamored of this film either. The Birds.
I put The Birds number 1 also. I am
Really?
enamored of that. I love The Birds. I think it's
I like it.
a really... I hesitate to say underrated, but I think it's
not
considered
underrated.
one of Hitchcock's more populist kind of films.
Sure.
But fuck it. That movie's endlessly watchable to me. I think it's great. And made me scared of birds as a child.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
From Russia with Love was a couple awards here. It won the BAFTA for cinematography.
Wow.
How about that?
I mean, there's some good stuff in there, but I don't think it's with Dr. No in that department.
Yeah, but BAFTA, they love their James Bond. All right. And it,
I'm gonna have to look into a BAFTA theme song.
I would love it. It was nominated for Best Song at the Golden Globes. Only the second time that category existed.
That's a mistake too. It's not one of the better Bond songs.
Yeah, but I mean, what other songs? It
Good
lost it lost to a song called Circus World from a movie called Circus World. I have never heard of this.
Well, now that I think about Charade, that's actually kind of a cool song.
Yeah, should we look up Circus World?
Sure.
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
I still plan on watching Hiding Out, by the way, which was brought up on an earlier episode.
What the hell made you think of that?
Because this is another one. Maybe I'll watch it someday. It's a John Wayne film about a circus proprietor who decides to take his show on a European tour. It is beset by problems while he searches for Lily, the mother of his adopted daughter who disappeared years earlier. Weird. A John Wayne circus movie.
Is that you, John Wayne? Is this me? What movie's that from?
I don't know.
Oh, our audience will know. Full Metal Jacket, Private Joker.
It also has, I'll tell you, the ladies in this movie make me want to see it. Both Rita Hayworth and Claudia Cardinale.
Ah, don't know the second one.
Oh, she's the chick from Once Upon a Time in the West. And also 8.5.
Oh, okay. So does she float up into the ether in 8.5 or something?
She's also in a movie, Henry. That, let's get the Henry update. Has Henry seen Fitzcarraldo yet? A movie he owns on DVD.
No.
Okay.
No. I love it though. Yeah, you do need to stay on me about that.
That's well, we need a theme song for that segment, Henry.
I totally agree. I'm going to work on a BAFTA, and I got a lot of work to do. Yeah, Fitzcarraldo, watching it, theme song, and BAFTA theme song. All right.
So From Russia with Love starts out mad Mission Impossible with our first Bond pre-credit sequence, and Bond is being hunted by, who's this actor?
That would be Robert Shaw.
Of course, the great Robert Shaw from Jaws. I know. I just blanked for a second. It's late. It's after 11 at this point. So he kills Bond, but then it turns out it's like some guy pretending to be Bond on like a Spectre base, and he pulls off a rubber mask, which looks pretty good, by the way. That's not a bad effect.
It's a good cut. The way they cut it. Yeah. I agree, because as soon as I realized it wasn't James Bond, I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be painful. But they cut it artfully.
And then we get a Bond opening sequence, and this is the first great Bond opening.
Definitely.
Holy fuck.
Well, okay. It's good. I mean, I'd say the first great Bond opening is Goldfinger.
I think this is great.
Yeah. No, this is.
The weird projection onto these belly dancers. I mean, it looked something like Andy Warholian, and honestly, like if this was in a later Bond movie, I wouldn't have been surprised. It was like it looked ahead of its time to me.
It did. It looked ahead of its time, and it's much more artful than anything Andy Warhol ever did. So don't ever compare him to these again. Maurice Binder, much better. Anyway.
Well, I wasn't just referring to his painting work.
I know.
Sure.
What else are you referring to?
He produced one of my favorite albums of all time.
The Velvet Underground?
And
thing?
Nico, yes.
Yeah, mine too.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Thank you, Henry.
Fine.
Who's your favorite? What's your favorite performance of an actor playing Andy Warhol in a movie?
Crispin Glover in The Doors.
Same. But there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah,
you're right.
Okay. So what happens next, Henry? I honestly, I'm leaving the plot out of this one. I'm leaving it to you because
okay, that's great. Because
this movie was so fucking labyrinthine that I had to have out the Wikipedia page of From Russia with Love. I was fucking following along with the plot.
So, I appreciate you leaving it to me, because right before we went on air, I said to Dan, if you could handle From Russia with Love, I'll do Dr. No, and he said sure. And here we are with me handling the plot.
Well, look, we'll do it as best we can, but I have problems following spy movies at the best of times.
Me too.
I'm not great at double crosses.
No, I'm not either, man. You put a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, fucking forget it. I don't know what's happening.
I watched the Alias, that show,
right,
and I
right.
used to have to force myself, like, pay attention to everything. Because I have a
Right.
tendency to, like, zone out during movies and start thinking about things.
Well, I'm not really in. This is gonna sound funny, being such a huge Bond fan, but I'm not really into the whole espionage
Me
thing.
neither.
It's just not my. It's not my bag. You know.
Me
Oh,
neither. I
shit.
guess Bond is somewhat appealing. I think the reason Bond does so well for me, as opposed to like a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, is that it's flashy, like it's
Yes,
sillier. It takes
exactly.
itself less seriously, and
I
he's just like
agree.
fucking and drinking and
I
and partying and going to weird gypsy compounds for no reason,
agree.
and.
Awesome. Yeah.
And
agreed.
so, like, you know, like these are popcorn movies.
You're right.
It's the popcorn version of what
John Le Carre.
John Le Carre does. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know the.
And I
fucking
respect
plot.
that shit. I respect that stuff. It takes a certain kind of mind both to write that kind of story and to enjoy that kind of story.
I agree.
And
I
I
agree.
don't have that kind of mind.
I don't either. And I'm not even. Yeah, like you said, I'm not criticizing that.
And
it's
feel
just
free
not
to
my
call me
thing.
fucking stupid or whatever. But-
Right. Yeah. Me too.
I don't
too.
care.
Yeah. Right. The one thing I liked about the plot, essentially, was I did not remember either that there's some element of the plot that is a revenge plot for the killing of Dr. No. So it harkens back to the villain of the first movie.
I loved that.
Wasn't that nice? I didn't
it
remember
really
that
is.
at all.
It's a direct sequel to Doctor No.
Yeah,
and,
6
and
months
I
later.
really
said.
appreciated that. I watched From Russia with Love. One day I watched it today, and I
Yeah.
watched Doctor No yesterday,
Yes.
and I really appreciated having a through line.
I did too. Yeah,
Because
and
most of these fucking movies don't, man. Like when I first got into Bond, Pierce Brosnan was Bond,
Right.
and Pierce Brosnan Bond, the openings of those movies would be a random set piece that had nothing to do with the previous movie and nothing to do with the rest of that movie, and it would go
Right.
on for like 20 minutes. And it would just be a big action sequence. And then the movies basically existed in a vacuum. It was almost like, remember when we talked about like Friday the 13th? When we said, like, it's weird that they make one of these a year and they don't seem to plan ahead at all. Like, all these movies are just in their own little vacuum. And Bond sort of became that. So it's interesting to see, like, these formative Bond movies having From Russia with Love pick up on multiple plot threads that are directly set up in Dr. No.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it was refreshing. And they even say, either Connery says it or maybe one of the bad guys says it, that 6 months have elapsed. So you even have like a timeline given to you, which is cool because it grounds the film a little bit, as
It
much
does.
as one of these films can be grounded.
These early ones are pretty grounded,
Yeah.
honestly. Like, the craziest sequence in this movie is just a ripoff of North by Northwest.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. I think that's definitely self-conscious, right? I mean,
Oh, 100%. They knew what
Yeah.
they were doing. And,
is
supposedly
nice.
Terrence Young is like a big Hitchcock head. And
well, that's cool.
But,
yeah, I dig that. Yeah.
yeah. Apparently, at some point, Alfred Hitchcock was going to make the first Bond movie. I think when they were still doing Thunderball. And that
Wow.
they were going to use like both main actors from North by Northwest. Yeah. But then they decided not to.
Which, by the way, I saw again recently. One of my favorite
Around
pictures.
Christmas, right?
Yeah.
We
One of
talked about it on the show. Yeah,
my-
it's a
that's
great
right,
one.
right.
So,
There will be blood. All right.
there. All right. So what happens here? They Spectre sends fucking this guy Robert Shaw, Brody, not Brody. Fuck. Quint.
You're having a Robert Shaw blanket moment.
Quint is like following around. He's tailing Bond.
Well, first, you got to mention I'm sorry, that we get Rosa Klebb, the lesbian, clearly, spy, evil person who
Right.
punches him in the stomach with brass knuckles to test his strength.
Yeah, and she is sort of the third. You know what was interesting? There's a scene.
Number 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a scene at Spectre where it's number one, and number one is a cat that communicates with his henchmen telepathically. And no, I know it's Blofeld stroking a cat, but it's crazy that every time he has a line, they just have a close up on the cat.
Maybe Blofeld is the cat.
I think that Blofeld is the cat, and it's like in Ninja Turtles when
Oh
like
my God.
Krang would like lived in the stomach of that android.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Dude, you have unlocked the key to the mystery of Blofeld.
I think so.
All these years, it's a fucking cat.
And honestly, the cat is my MVP in this movie.
Oh.
It's fucking adorable. I love it. I wanted to stroke this cat.
Ooh,
So
boy.
we meet number 1, number 3, and number 5. Only the odd-numbered Spectre guys, which,
Right.
of course, they made, Robert Wagner number 2 in the
Right.
Austin Powers movies. A little shit joke. Um,
very, very clever. So
Yeah.
clever. Really
Fuck
makes
me
you
and
appreciate
fuck you. Okay, so they they have this meeting. It's a great scene. I love any time there's these weird villain scenes in these Bond
me
movies.
too.
So like
The
we were talking about Dr. No like speaking in a monotone
Right,
in that
yeah.
big room in Dr. No, and I love these Spectre scenes in this movie too.
And they're always, the people he's talking to are always sweating. And,
Yeah,
I mean, how uncomfortable would it be to work for a Spectre? Why would anyone want to do it?
It's a lot
Yeah.
like in the original Star Wars trilogy. There's always the threat that like I almost said Dr. Vader.
Dr. Vader.
That Dr. Vader is
He's gonna kill you.
Fucking just like choke you to death.
It's not a pleasant environment. I mean, they might pay
Yeah.
well, but I don't know. But yeah, so they get Rosa Klebb to
Who's great?
She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, played by Lotte Lenya. To recruit this Russian beauty to infiltrate James Bond, and then, but she's not really working. She doesn't. Okay, Tatiana Romanova, the Bond girl, does not realize she's being used for Spectre. She thinks she's doing the Russian government's job.
And they're using her because she's weirdly in love with James Bond, like from afar.
Or that's what she's supposed to tell him.
But
Yes.
I mean, she clearly is. She like
Well,
never
that's what
has
happened,
her fucking
right.
hands off this guy.
That's right. That's right.
So
That's right.
they go to meet up, and he's skeptical of her, but he's like into it. And she's like this
not
hot
too
girl. What's her name?
The character is Tatiana.
I know, but what's the actress?
Daniela Bianchi.
Daniela Bianchi. So like she was like a beauty queen runner-up, like the Miss. She came in like second in the Miss Universe pageant.
Okay.
And Connery.
She's still around, by the way.
All right. She,
What?
I'm sure she still looks great. Connery picked her to be, like, hand-picked her to be in this movie.
Did read
And
that.
she was, like, a horrible actress who, like, couldn't speak the language. They had to ADR, and they ADR'd her with, like, this fucking lady with, like, a deep Kathleen Turner voice. And, like, she doesn't have the charisma that Ursula Andress has. She's fucking hot, dude. Like, she's beautiful.
She is, and I don't think she has no charisma.
I don't think she has the presence that you need in this movie. I know, like, I read up on her, and, like, apparently some Bond heads consider her, like, their best Bond girl. But,
I
like,
can see that.
to
She's
me,
not mine, but
to
yeah.
me, I like the way the character was written. But surely you can cast an actress that can speak the lines.
I agree.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? I didn't notice the ADR being that bad. I don't know why, but I didn't notice that badly.
And Connery says like this is his favorite Bond movie. Like he had the most fun making this
A lot of
movie.
people do.
And like of course he fucking did. He chose this beauty queen to be his love interest, and then he's just like fucking her this entire movie.
No, but I mean, look, it's also like Daniel Craig's favorite and Timothy Dalton's favorite.
No, but he says it was his favorite to make.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, We're getting
Why
there.
is this
but,
so many people's favorite Bond movie? I've now watched 2 Bond movies this week, and it's not my favorite Bond movie I watched this week.
It's not mine either, but I will tell you that was different before this viewing. From Russia
Same
with
here, to be honest. When we did that list a few years ago, I'm almost positive I had From Russia with Love ahead of Dr. No.
I am almost positive as well, and I know it was in my top 5. But so was Dr. No, I think. But I thought it was flawless for many, many years. I was wrong, but it's still awesome.
The only thing I remember, Henry, from that list, I remember my top 3.
Oh, what are they? You might as well say it, because we'll forget.
It was my number 3 was Goldfinger. My number 2 was Honor Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh, can I guess your number 1?
Yeah.
Casino Royale.
Yeah, that's my number 1. So
right.
we'll be in this go round of Bond. We will be covering 2 of those movies. So I'm interested to see how they hold up.
So are we gonna rank the Connerys when we're done, like each batch?
We'll rank them, and then when we're done with Roger Moore, we'll incorporate them into our Connery lists, whatever.
Cool.
So I'm gonna have to write them down, which I don't usually do. Okay, so at the beginning of this movie, he's still boning Sylvia Trench. Now,
a recurring girlfriend.
That's rare, huh? I mean, has that ever happened?
I wrote down this, and this was not me doing research. This is just what I think. Recurring girlfriend Sylvia Trench, first and last time that happens. Yeah, I don't recall this ever happening again.
I read that she was going to be in every movie. That was the original plan for this character. Like, she was going to be his girlfriend.
Yeah, that wouldn't have.
She was going to be frustrated that he's always going away and stuff. But, I feel like that makes Bond a little unlikable. Like, he's just always going off and fucking other women.
Well, yeah, I mean...
He also fucking slaps her in this movie. And it's not the only woman that he hits.
Yeah. He slaps Daniela Bianchi, right?
Later.
Right.
Not Sylvia Trench. Yeah, he slaps Trench.
In this?
Yeah, he's she pulls the phone out of his hand when he's on the phone with Moneypenny or something.
Right.
And he just whacks her.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh well. That's not cool.
No, what happens next?
Okay, we'll jump to where we were. Bond goes to Turkey.
Istanbul.
Istanbul, the beautiful Istanbul.
And they filmed on location there, which is pretty cool.
Yes, and also we get a great scene, our first scene ever with the Q for the next almost 4 decades.
That's
Desmond
right.
Llewellyn. He gives him the famous, he gives him a briefcase with a knife in it and some knockout gas, and he gave him the gun in the previous movie, the Walther PPK, and that's a cool scene.
I love that scene. And Desmond Llewellyn's great. He's great off the bat. He's my
great.
Q. He's everybody's Q. But I feel like they shouldn't have even replaced Q.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Why do you need Q in these movies? Honestly, I'd never like those Q scenes. I only like them because Desmond Llewellyn's likable.
I think they started to become just part of everything else in the movies, like having every movie have him at least say one time, Bond, James Bond, shaken not stirred.
No, I know there's all that shit, but he every movie, after a while, it was oh, here's a bar of soap that's also a cyanide. Where
it got stupid, and this might account for you on some unconscious level.
In the Brosnan movies?
Exactly.
That makes sense.
That's when we're giving him fucking invisible cars and shit.
I mean, that was Die Another Day.
It was still funny back in the day, and I remember 10 or 11 years ago, I actually read the Roger Moore autobiography, which is great. My Word is My Bond. Recommend it. Very funny.
Life Wish.
Life Wish.
Go on.
Wait, what is? Oh, I know that joke.
That's
what is?
Jill Ireland's memoir.
Right. Life. And Roger Moore used to fuck with Desmond Llewellyn's dialogue because it got more and more complicated as the years went by, and so he would rewrite the script for Desmond Llewellyn. So when he would go back to the script and have to describe all the weaponry and how they work, he would always get it wrong, and they'd have to do multiple takes. It's very funny.
Dick move. Okay.
Yeah.
What a bully.
They were great friends. No, they were great friends.
I'm
but-
joking.
Yeah. But anyway. Okay, so he's in Istanbul. The whole plan, basically, in a nutshell, is Spectre is trying to pit the Russians against the British. And through Istanbul, Bond needs to get this thing called the Lecter.
It's the MacGuffin.
Well, yeah, it is and it isn't. It's an actual thing, but it's not. Yeah, right. Because like 3 plots going on in this fucking movie.
No,
But,
I
mean,
know, but that's what they're going after, and they want Bond to get the Lecter, and then they're gonna use the Spectre guys to take it. So I mean, ultimately, the goal is to get Robert Shaw to get it from Bond.
Yes,
Robert
and
Shaw
one
will
of the
kill
more
Bond.
and one of the more brilliant ideas, I think, is having Robert Shaw not speak a line of dialogue for like an hour and 15 minutes or something.
It's
like
pretty baller having Robert Shaw just like in the shadows of every
Fuck
scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
that. Oh, it's awesome, dude. It's awesome. And he has a nice friend who he meets in Istanbul. I like this character. I like that actor. I thought he was very funny and jovial and well played.
Mustachioed.
Mustachioed fella.
Yeah.
They're named something like Karim Bey or something like
Yeah,
that.
oh right. Yeah, and then he has like a bunch of sons, and they're all over the
Right.
place.
That's
and then,
very funny too.
And then
Yeah,
he ends up getting killed on a train platform, pretty
Yeah.
unceremoniously.
Yeah.
Much like Quarrel, they always like kill off the foreign guy.
Yeah. You know that you make friends with Bond and your name isn't Felix Leiter, you're a fucking goner. Yeah. That's not a good idea. Which brings me to a scene at the gypsy camp.
Yeah, so they blow up some folks that are like working for them, and then so they take Bond to like hide out on this gypsy camp, and it's a fucking crazy scene. It doesn't need to be in the movie, and it is weird and silly.
It is amazing.
You're into it, huh?
Oh my god! Because I had the same reaction. I was like, "All right. I get it. It's a hideout. It's nobody would come into the gypsy
But
area."
what's going on? There's like a belly dancing setup.
There is. It's a very racist, stereotypical thing that these 2 gypsy women are fighting over the same man, and the only way they can win is to fight each other, like presumably, I don't know if to the death, but whoever wins the fight, and then the men choose which woman gets the guy.
It was fucked up. So the one
God.
gypsy beats up the other woman, and then she's like, "I felt like destroying something beautiful."
Right. Oh, good.
So,
and then it has to be mentioned. I'm sorry, this will happen occasionally on the show. These 2 gypsy women are astonishingly, ridiculously beautiful beyond all human comprehension.
I didn't notice. I like to see the inner beauty.
Right. That's why I figured I'd take the
sure.
heat for that.
So Bond gets given these 2 ladies, and they're like, "Choose between these ladies. They're yours." And Bond's like, "I'll just fuck them both." And they're like, "All right." And
Which
so
is incredible, and it's, as far as I recall, the only threesome in a Bond movie.
there have to be more.
I don't remember any. I made a note. My note says gypsy fight, then a threesome.
Yeah, I wrote Bond gets free reign over 2. And
So-
then my next note is in the morning for breakfast he orders green figs and yogurt. Fucking gross.
That is gross. Yeah, well, when in Rome. Yeah, it also it plays into this then. So here we go.
James Bond, shag count.
4.
4, so we're up 1.
We're up 1 because he gets 2 with the gypsies.
Are you recounting Sylvia Trench?
Yeah, she counts. She
Okay.
counts. It's a new movie.
So it's 7.
7.
6 different women over the course of 2 movies. but 4 in this one and 3 in the previous.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he is at least has second stage syphilis by this point.
You don't think he's bagging it?
Not James Bond.
Yeah,
I don't
probably not.
feel like he isn't.
I feel like Q probably gave him something though.
Sure.
Yeah, like Q.
007.
Yeah, it.
007, listen. This is for your protection and the many ladies you will be shagging throughout your 45-year career.
Yeah.
It doubles as a cyanide pill, lest any of them want to behead thee.
Yeah, it puts them. He puts like a pill in their drink, and then like it like creates something of a dental dam situation, and it traps his kids because he doesn't have any kids, right? I mean, except in that cartoon I used to watch as a kid.
No, 007. No. This is a simple briefcase, is what it looks like, but on the inside it contains a supergalactic prophylactic.
Did you ever watch James Bond Jr., Henry?
That was way after I was a child.
Really?
I think. I don't remember it at all.
He would say, "The name's Bond, James Bond Jr."
Yeah. You mentioned this on the show once.
I did?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you said it in that voice. Yeah.
Well, that's how he says. Okay.
Okay.
Henry, what's next? We got
Let's just get to the train.
Before the train, I did love, like, my favorite sequence in the movie probably is the sequence of all the MI6 guys back at headquarters, like, listening to a tape of Bond getting
Fucking
information.
great. So glad you brought that
from
up.
Tatiana, but, like, all the while, like, flirting with her, too. So, like, they're
So
getting
good.
information from this tape, but they also have to hear Bond go, like, yes, when we get back to London, I'll fuck you forever, all day.
So good.
And then you see Moneypenny listening in on it too. She's a little jelly. I love it.
But the greatest part about that sequence is that you realize that Bond knows that they're all going to hear it. So he has a line I wrote down that I love and never caught before, and gives it a little bit of history. M and Bond clearly got laid together in Tokyo, because he says, when Miss Taro this is with Miss Taro, and he says something like, she says, do all Eastern girls, are they different from the Western girls? Something like that, right? And he says, well, there was this time that M and I were back in Tokyo.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then M turns it off. He's
I think we've got enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, M and Bond.
So what does that
Throwing
mean?
it up.
They were like, they were doubles?
Maybe M went on a mission, you know? God.
They played doubles.
007
Yeah.
is what you meant, right?
They were the 2 O's and she was the 7.
Oh, my Lord.
Um,
Also, the first Bond movie and last that I recall where there's nudity.
when?
I never saw it, and I think it's to the beauty of Blu-ray. Daniela Bianchi's first appearance before Bond, when she's walking to her bed. Her ass is right there.
Oh, no, that I saw. Ass nudity, sure.
And side breast.
So, sure, side breast. Jesus, Henry.
Well, it's there. You know, that might not be that unique, because probably Denise Richard is Dr. What's her name? Christmas.
Dr. Christmas Jones, nuclear physicist? Yeah.
Wild Things, Denise Richards.
Yeah.
I was surprised that there was actual showing of ass.
Yeah.
Strange.
You have to pause the movie, Henry?
No, I never would.
Do you need to pause the podcast right now?
I would never do something like that.
All right, so then there's a murder on the Orient Express. What movie is this? No, but seriously, they're on the Orient Express.
That's where the movie for me really just fucking takes off.
Yeah,
like
me,
for
me
you,
too.
Doctor No, that's where my point.
No,
is.
I feel the same way. Like both of these movies have stronger third acts than any other part in the movie.
Well, no, but remember, I didn't think that in Doctor No. That's the very end of it. But in this one, I thought once we hit the train, that's it, man. Yeah.
Because you get that great fist fight between Connery and Robert Shaw, and it is like genuinely gritty and brutal. And like people talk about that, like Craig was the first Bond who looks like he boxed when he was younger or whatever.
Right, right.
But fucking Connery in this movie has some grit to spare.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's always been like kind of a funny thing about, you know, in the Bond world, you know, who could kick whose ass. And, you know, that's when like Daniel Craig came along, and I was definitely on that thing where he kicked the shit out of Pierce Brosnan, you know, and Roger Moore. But you never hear anybody say, well, I don't know if I'd fuck with Sean Connery. He's pretty gritty. And what I noticed about that scene, and I was so thankful for, I made a note of it. That fight scene in the train cart, no music. I was fully expecting the score to like amp up. Yeah, or like dun 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 dun, you know, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just the sound of the train.
Maybe that's why I thought it was so gritty. Like, it reminded me more of like a Bourne style fight than
Definitely.
Than a Bond fight.
And I love the dialogue. It's the second time, because Dr. No does it too, but where Robert Shaw really should just shoot him. But he wants to tell him everything because his ego can't contain.
That happens so many times in these fucking movies.
That's
and
right.
That really does bother me occasionally. Like when in Dr. No, when they're about to do the thing and they lock him up in that jail cell, why would they do that? Why? Just shoot it. There's so much opportunity. I mean, and the guy's always passing out. Like, he's constantly drinking shit he shouldn't be, and then like falling asleep. Just fucking kill Bond when he's asleep.
He's a worthy adversary.
Because that happens in this fucking movie too. He sucks at staying awake.
I got news for you. It happens in all of them. So, yes.
All right. So then he kills Shaw, and the movie loses something for me after Shaw's dead. I really, there's a big boat sequence and the helicopter thing, which is doing North by Northwest, and I really thought those two sequences were a little dull.
I agree with you on the helicopter thing. I was kind of out on that. The boat scene didn't bother me that much because I dug the dumping of the petrol and then lighting it on fire, which is the fucking money shot, man. That is cool. Come on.
That was cool. That was cool.
I mean, when he fires that flare gun and lights the ocean on, I didn't even remember that happened.
It just went on a little long for me.
Yeah.
I lose interest in a chase, I think.
I think that's probably been established.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And then we think it's over again, but then Rosa Klebb comes back.
Oh, well, that's when the movie gets me back. He's in a hotel with Tatiana Romanova, and Klebb comes in, number 3 comes in dressed as a maid, and she's ready to fucking kill Bond, and I really liked that sequence.
Yeah, no, it was great.
And she's kicking at him, she's got spikes in her feet, and
awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And then he kills her, and he's got a quippy there, right? He's like... He says, like,
there are so many that I didn't even write them all down.
She's no longer kicking, or something like that.
Yeah. It was excellent.
Yeah, and fucking he takes Tatiana Romanova away, and they're gonna live happily ever after or whatever. But I guess she's not in the next movie, huh?
No, she doesn't make it.
That's the thing. Like, we pick up on these Spectre plot threads, but we never pick up on his romantic plot threads.
No, they're over. They end every movie. There's a new Bond girl every time.
Yeah, but I did find From Russia with Love enjoyable. It ends with him fucking on a boat again, by the way.
True.
In Venice. He's fucking in one of those...
Gondolas?
Gondolas.
I don't think it's a gondola. Is it a gondola?
I believe it is a gondola.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. Yeah. He throws the film away.
Yeah. That last shot sucks. It's just Sean Connery's hand in front of a green screen.
That is bad.
Yeah, it's the worst looking shot in either of these movies, and it's the last shot.
The film being thrown away would have been fine. But then he has to wave to it. I don't know. Yeah, I
didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So that's it. From Russia with Love, to me, a little bit on the convoluted side. it didn't bring the fun the way I wanted it to. Dr. No did more. But it's still a great one. It's probably for me a top 10 Bond movie.
Yeah.
But I think not a top 5.
I'm gonna have to figure that out when we get there. But
No,
right
absolutely. I could be proved wrong with time when we watch more of these babies. But as it stands, I think of these two, I have one I clearly like more.
now, I agree. I like Dr. No more as well.
What do you give From Russia with Love?
I'm gonna regret this because I'm gonna want to have given this a 5 later on. But I'll give it a 4.
I'm going to give this one a 4, too. And that's the same as I gave Dr. No. I do think they're on the same level, the same playing field, in the same ballpark,
Right.
but I think Dr. No is just a better movie.
I agree.
So there we have it, From Russia with Love. Who's your MVP?
Robert Shaw.
Ooh, good choice. I'm also going to go Robert Shaw. I'm going to echo you.
Yeah. LVP, I really couldn't think of one. It was difficult because I liked all the supporting characters. I liked all the villains, and I liked the Bond girls. I don't know.
I'm going Romanova.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I just didn't like, okay.
Yeah.
I think she holds the screen, and I think that's important for
it's
this.
just because she's hot.
Well, not necessarily. Some of them, we'll see later. Some of them don't really have much.
She's unique looking, though. That's the thing. Like she was,
Right.
she's interesting
I
to
agree.
look at, but
Yeah.
she didn't add anything in terms of her performance.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Then,
Also, shout out to this movie, including Siamese fighting fish. My sister had one of those as a kid, and
Really?
she named it Ringo Starfish. We had it for a long time, and it was pretty dangerous looking.
wow.
Yeah.
That's a
You
cool
couldn't
shot.
put it with any other fish because it would fight them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well,
I think you couldn't call it like they call it a Siamese fighting fish in this movie, and Siam's not a thing anymore. So I think when we had it, it was called a samurai fighting fish.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The Ehrenberg family, once former members of Spectre.
Yeah, that's right. So we're keeping the Spectre boat floating. Blofeld is introduced in this movie. They credited the actor. They named him in the closing credits as Blofeld, and didn't say who played him. It was just a question mark, which is such
Loved
a
it.
cool little touch.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was really
These
great.
are smart. Can we just say off the bat, though, dude? I mean, this will not always be the case, but these are smart people making these movies.
Early on, they are shepherding these movies like they're fucking, the Marvel guys. Like, just so intelligently, they know just what they're doing.
They're smart people. There's always cool cultural references, like, even in Dr. No, when Bond walks by in Dr. No's lair, there's a Goya painting that apparently that year had just gone missing.
Yes, that is fucking brilliant. I read that. That's such a smart little touch.
And Ken Adam painted it over the weekend, a copy of it. And so, if for those art hounds out there in the 60s who would have known that Goya was stolen would see that and laugh, very cool. Probably 1% of the world probably got that joke.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Do you have an LVP, Henry?
You know what? Like the movie's credit for Blofeld, I'm looking at my sheet and I have 2 question marks written down. So
I'm going with Romanova.
I know. I don't know what. I don't know, man. You usually help me out here. You usually throw me a freaking bone.
Give it to Trench.
No, I can't do that.
I got it here. Green figs and yogurt. What's going on there?
That's my LVP.
Or the Gypsies. Give it to the Gypsies.
No, I can't do that.
I know you had such a boner over them.
I did not. No.
So Henry, next week on the show. Oh, is superhero count none except Connery?
No.
Okay.
Yep.
Next week on the show, we'll be covering Goldfinger and Thunderball. So we're saying hello to a new director. Guy Hamilton directed Goldfinger. Is that right?
Yes.
And then Terrence Young is back for Thunderball, which is a divisive Bond movie. So I'm excited to see what that one brings.
Yeah, for sure. And well, we'll save it for next week. But,
Yeah.
we've got the first two done.